Hi, I'm Kat, and to start off, I think Runeslayer is a decent game, just dragged down by many issues. I'll get into that, later on in the video. So, what's Runeslayer? It's an open-world RPG on Roblox with parry-based combat and the ability to get runes that you can use to power up your weapons and armor. The flow of the game generally goes like, get a quest, kill a mob, complete the quest, get a new weapon, or get new armor, and then repeat. But even before that, the game gives you a tutorial, which is great. It's a low bar. A lot of games should explain to the player what they're gonna be doing. Anyways, as you get XP from quests, your stats will increase, you'll get new skills, and sometimes your skills will evolve. After completing enough missions, you get a boss quest, and finishing that quest, you're told about the next area. To get more gear, it's simple. Go mining, logging, or hunting to get the materials to make more. Sometimes bosses or mobs can drop gear too. You have a hunger bar that decreases as you regenerate health, focus, or mana, and once you're out of hunger, you just stop regenerating. To fill it up, you just eat. You can also tame pets who will help you out in combat. Sadly, there's only a select few you can tame unless you're the Beast Tamer subclass. Now, there's two types of parries that the game doesn't actually tell you about. Perfect parries and regular parries. Regular parries display sparks when you do it and play a sound effect, while perfect parries display more sparks and have a different sound effect. I talked about subclasses a little earlier, so about them. At level 30 you get a subclass which allows you to specialize into an aspect of your class. Warriors can specialize into Knight, which makes them more tanky and gives them more survivability. Thief can subclass into Assassin, which makes them better at assassinations. You can also multi-class. It'll take one level, but it'll let you take an aspect of said class. You can also join a faction. Factions have more of a PvP focus, and there's only two factions as of making this video right now. Those being the Holy Sect and the Demon Sect. Both factions have their own gear and their own ultimate moves, which are boss drops. Into my opinion, progression's only fun because they get new moves and better stats. Getting new gear or healing items is such a chore, either from crafting it or getting it from mobs. Starting with healing items, you kill mobs, get meat, cook said meat, and it's great healing when you're far from town, but it's a mob drop. Because it's a mob drop, there's a chance that you just don't get the meat. Clearly this is a problem because when they added the beach has coconuts, which are just items you can pick up off the ground. But the devs didn't like this because they added a cap to coconuts to prevent people from carrying too many coconuts. And I gotta ask, what are you guys thinking when you make healing items inconsistent and then add a way to make healing items consistent? People are gonna pick the consistent option. It's always there. On to travel. Traveling sucks. Going from place to place takes far too long. Even with a mount, it's just slightly faster than walking. And fast travel is locked behind a really tedious quest. Personally, I think fast travel should either be locked behind killing the area boss or completing every town quest. The other option, just make mounts faster. On to items. The Serpent Dagger. It requires serpent fangs and 4 silver bars. The silver bars aren't hard to get because they're consistent. The serpent fangs are not consistent. You have to go around mindlessly killing snakes for the chance to get one item. Legendary weapons are even worse for this. The Vidrin's a legendary sword that drops from goblins at a low chance, 1.5% from the goblin champion, and 0.5 from regular goblins. The Runic Cutlass. It's a legendary sword from the Runic Whale. How rare? 0.15%. Stupid rates, right? What about legendary weapons you need to craft? The Hive Piercer. It's a dagger that needs 3 bee essence and 1 Goblin King crown to make. The bee essence is 0.6% from bees, while the crown is 0.25%. That's hard to craft because it's tedious, not because the enemies are hard. And I better not see any comments about, oh, this is good game design. It's not. If you want items hard to get, then make the fights harder. For example, Terraria and the Empress of Light. She's a hard boss fight that gets stronger during the daytime. Do you know what you get when you beat her during the daytime? A strong weapon called the Terra Prisma. None of that RNG bullshit. It's 100% guaranteed if you beat her during the daytime. Now, I'm not saying make a harder or alternate moveset for these bosses. What I am saying is add some kind of pity or guaranteed way to get these weapons without spending 50 minutes hitting the same guy getting pennies. Another issue I have is enemy consistency. Like, getting a quest to kill like 4 panthers, right? Sometimes, the enemy spawns are just filled with other mobs that aren't the 4 panthers. The developers showed us some sneaks of mob-exclusive lands like Boar Plains, which I assume is going to be just a place on the map where only boars can spawn, which I guess solves the issue of enemy consistency, but I hope those lands aren't or those new areas aren't just only boars spawn here. There's nothing else. So, I am gonna be talking about the enemies, and I wrote so much. Like, I wrote little notes for every enemy in every area, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to talk that much. This script is 7 pages long, and I am in university right now. When I started writing this, I was out of high school. But basically, early on in-game, the enemies have snappy animations, and your lack of damage does not help. Later on, near the jungle, enemies get a fuck ton of block breaks, which makes it so you either parry, or you get block broken. Or you might just want to eat the hit. And then you get to the beach, where the enemies' animations aren't snappy anymore. They're readable. And you can actually block their hits without getting immediately block broken. It's incredible! Oh yeah, they also introduced unblockables along the way somewhere. On to bosses. The only major complaint I have about them is that some of them have boatloads of health, like the whale, or really annoying gimmicks like Basilisk with its stone breath. And then you have a boss like the Goblin King, who's there for show because nobody's gonna go jump down to him spending whatever because, well, the Lich basically has the same loot pool as the Goblin King, and the Lich is easier to kill than the Goblin King. Raid bosses like the Dire Bear and the Elder Treant are not made like any of the other boss fights, with the fact that those bosses have several ragdolls that just lead into it themselves, and then eventually kill you. On top of that, those boss fights are designed with the intention that there's going to be other players there to support you and to also take aggro. Issue here being that if you're solo player, these bosses are basically impossible. Also, your pet is effectively useless for every single boss fight you're going to be in. Unless they're like super over leveled, after 30 seconds into the boss fight, your pet's just going to die. And if it's a fight like the Lich, it's just a flat downside because it spawns in more skeletons. When I say systems, I mean things like rune slotting and pets. Starting with rune slotting, I haven't really interacted with the system at all, but here's how runes work. They take up a rune slot on your gear, and the amount of rune slots is random on your gear. We love random number generators. Personally, I would make it that there's a fixed amount of rune slots on your gear, so you wouldn't feel like shit when you get 0 rune slots on an item. Anyways, each piece can have a rune slotted onto it, but once it's slotted, it can't be removed. Unless you use another item, which will remove every runes on the piece. Runes give you minor stats to a whole unique status effect. If you remember how I said I never interacted with the system, it's because of this. The fact that newer runes are so much better than the older ones makes me want to wait until the game's finished. If you wanted players to interact with runes, then there would be a better way to get them, or they would be more common than they are now. Something you could have done is make the wizard at the starter town sell lesser runes or blank runes. Well, what do blank runes do? If you stagger a regular mob, you can use the blank rune to scan the mob, and you get that mob's rune. If you're a higher level than the mob, then you can just scan the mob without needing to stagger it. Falgur could have another NPC who sells regular runes and regular blank runes. Regular blank runes can be used to scan bosses. Same thing with you need to stagger the boss or be over leveled. And then when you get to the Tundra, there's an NPC that sells you greater blank runes, which you can use for raid bosses. Same conditions as before. Another system I've talked about earlier is the pets. In-game they're called tames, but I'm just gonna call them pets. So what do pets do for you? They draw aggro and they deal little damage. And to get one, you gotta tame it by finding out their favorite food. Once you get their favorite food, you walk up to them, and it's a chance to tame them. So you know. So how do you find out their favorite food, you ask? You gotta wiki it. I'm serious. In my 100 hours of playing this game, I have not figured out where or how to figure out the favorite food without looking online. Remember how I said some animals can be tamed only by a beast tamer subclass? Yeah, it's not actually listed anywhere what animals are beast tamer only, you kinda gotta guess. Now this is dogshit game design because this information should be told in-game! So once you have your pet, what's next? Nothing much really. Pets have their own levels, and if you get them early on, you won't have to worry about said level because they'll basically be the same level as you. Something annoying though is that most pets have some kind of a dash attack. Why is this an issue? Because when I'm playing Assassin, I want to hit a target's back because it does more damage. But when it goes through the enemy, makes them turn around and face me, it gets a little annoying. Now there's a way to make pets a little more interesting. An idea I have is to let them choose moves, like enable and disable them, so they won't do 40 dashes in a row. Something else you could do is give pets a skill tree, and something basic and universal, like boars and bears having a tank skill tree, wolves and panthers having a DPS skill tree, that kind of thing. Another system to talk about is the bestiary. This system is the potential man of all systems, because it could be so much more. So what does it do as of making this video? It displays enemy drop rates. But only if you've gotten the drop. Yeah, you only get to see the drop rates if you've gotten the drop before. So let's say you do get every item and find out the drop rates for everything. You get jack shit. I remember hearing you could get an EXP boost, but I think that's a lie. Good examples of a bestiary are Voxel Blade and Pilgrimed. Both games show you the NPC's location, the mob's drops, its health, its damage, its armor, and yet we don't have that same treatment in Runeslayer. Why do we not get like a little tidbit of lore on the mob? Like, why don't we get health? Why don't we get location? Why do we only get drop rates? Hell, y'all have some pretty art that you can only see in quests. Only in quests, nowhere else. If you wanted to be a little unique about it, you could make it so you get research points from killing a mob, and then you can spend that research point on either its health, its drops, and maybe you can learn lore about it, like the rune golem. Who made it? Why is it there? Is it natural? Is it artificial? That kind of thing. Proficiencies are a thing, but they're kind of just there as a band-aid solution to having low drop rates and being really grindy. There's no reason why proficiencies really should have been there if drop rates are decent and grinding wasn't terrible. There's also status effects, but those are also kinda just there. Very few weapons really use status effects, and only specific mobs have access to status effects. And status effects aren't anything too special either. There are in-game races. Races don't really play a huge role in the game. They give you a few passives that you can just ignore, and sometimes a unique move to that race. So how do you get races? At the start of the game, when you're making a character, it's decided from that point that the first slot will be rolled as a common to prevent players from just re-rolling by making new accounts. So how different are common races from any other race? For example, orcs are a common race that get 10% more regen, 15% more hunger bar, meaning they can just eat more, and 20% heat resistance, as well as a move called Spine Breaker, which only works on humanoids. Then we have slimes, who have the passive slime body, which makes them resistant to fire, magic, and poison. Slimes are an uncommon or rare race, I think. They also have the passive Viscous Remains, which lets them get hit and drops a pool on the ground that heals them. They also have an active called Viscous Shock, which takes health from them to do an AoE attack. But there's a little more. Slimes can evolve. What do slime evolutions get? They get a new passive that lets them synergize better with their class. Because of how big of a role races play in game, why do we not get to choose one? Why are we forced to gamble for them? A race like Saphiram gets luck innately, which lets them re-roll their drops more than once, effectively rolling 2 dice and picking the bigger number. If you kill a mob, it's effectively killing it twice. Being able to evolve and then not being able to evolve changes your experience way too much. I feel like you should have let us choose races off rip. Okay, so what if you want to change your character's race in game? You can talk to an NPC at the starter town who lets you reroll, or you can buy a new slot. So how do you get more slots in game or race rerolls? Either through events, or you gotta pay up. In my opinion, you should be able to choose what race you want from the start of the game instead of having to gamble for it, because what if I wanted half Golem and ended up with Infernum instead? What if I wanted Elf and got Human? What if I just didn't want to spend money on the game? Locking content behind a slot machine is truly a Roblox standard. This is just gonna be me talking about random shit from now on in the game. The Knight, a subclass of Warrior. It's a class that has a shield. When you're using shield moves, you can't be block broken. So basically pocket iframes. So Knight's a class that you get the idea is supposed to be in the front lines, taking hits, reducing its posture to get damage reduction. But then the other two skills Knight has is Bastion Field and Iron Will. Iron Will reflects damage from party members back to you. And then Bastion Field is a skill that basically just grants iframes to everybody around you except for you. And if they take enough damage inside that field, you'll get stunned. Why does a class like the Knight, a frontlining class, have crazy support abilities? Exploration's alright in game. Just following the path is more than enough to get to all the other areas that you need. The Rat Cave in the forest rewards you with a whole new boss as well as new materials. All you really need to do to find it is be a little perceptive. There's the thieves in the forest. They have an entire questline dedicated to killing NPCs. As long as you look around the swamp, it shouldn't be too hard to find it. Side note, but like, huge missed opportunity to let the players join the assassins. There's the lightning spire near the jungle. Unless it only gives you lightning spells. There's the witch hut in the swamp, which is just there. Then there's the area after the jungle, the Balgar region. That area has like one NPC that's slightly hard to reach. And they're just not worth talking to. They give you a quest, which is annoying as shit, because it's go kill a mob to get its head, but you won't believe it, it's a chance! There's also the troll in the cave, also just generally not worth fighting because, you know, the beach exists and I'm pretty sure the beach gives better armor, or armor that's on par with the troll. Then we have Balgron's Chasm. It's an area inside of Balgar. The only way to get inside of this area is to pay 5 silver every time you want to enter it. What's in here, you might be wondering? Demons and materials. Balgar's got the hell aesthetic, and the devs nailed it perfectly, cause this shit is ass. You got demons who are tanky as fuck and got 50 different AoEs. And guess what? There's lava. In hell, I know, it's surprising, but there's lava. But if you touch the lava, at all, like you dip your pinky toe in there, you die. Instantly. I haven't even talked about the worst part. Temperature. I probably should have talked about this in my systems, but the first time you're introduced to temperature is in Balgron's Chasm. So what does temperature do? It either gets really hot or really cold, and the bar either fills up or just, or not fills up, it goes to one side or the other. And if it gets to one side or the other, it'll kill you. Not instantly, but it'll start doing DOT. And it's not like really light DOT, that shit chunks you. Like, it does like 1/6 of your health a second or some shit. Not even a second, but you get the idea. It's annoying to deal with. Not only is it annoying to deal with, it discourages you from exploring. Because if you don't know the layout beforehand, you're just gonna die to the temperature. Okay, so you're out of hell. What's the next area? The beach. Y'all have heard enough about me loving the beach, but you know. Something I hate about the beach though is how the shark mount is required. and how the ocean is just a walled-in fucking lake. Like, seriously, why can't I make a boat? And why does the ocean only have, like, 2 islands? I should say ocean with heavy quotation marks. The ocean has the Frog Island, which has, you know, the materials that you need to make the new pickaxes, and armor if you wanted to. And then we have Skeleton Island, which just has skeletons. There's no point to really go there unless you want to get, like, their cutlass or their rune. There's the Tundra, too, or the Tundra Gate, I mean, which just takes you to the Tundra. Also, if anybody says to try and swim to these islands, the water is actually molasses. The devs just spray painted that shit blue. I forgot to mention, there's a quest to actually unlock the Tundra itself. The quest is very long and very tedious. Literally the only good part about this quest is that it's across all slots, so you never have to do it again. So once you're done that quest, you're in the Tundra. Woohoo! You won't believe what I'm about to say next, but I haven't actually explored the Tundra fully. You wanna know why? The fucking temperature mechanic! A way you could make the Tundra better to explore is just to rework temperature entirely. Don't make it kill you, just make it like debuff you or slow you down or remove your regen or something. Cause god, it is awful. One of the few things I remember is the wizard tower, where there's a wizard who gives you some really good rings inside that tower. I feel like you could have done like ancient wizard society or something in there. And you could have gone and joined the wizards and hey, new faction. Now talking about some world building aspects, how does the whale get into the ocean? Cause like it's walled in, so it can't just swim in. Water, there's no way the water is that deep that the whale can just like swim under it. The Tundra does not have enough water to hold the whale. So does it like just like get created in there? Do they got whale factories next to the Tundra Gate? Why does the Goblin King look so different from the Goblin Champion? Like, the faces, I mean. The Goblin Champion's got like a detailed 3D face while the Goblin King's face is flat. Why are both of them so much bigger than regular goblins? What happened to them? Why does the Goblin King live in fucking Birmingham? Does the Lich know the Goblin King is just like right there? Like not even a couple feet away or not, well not. He is far, but he's not like that far. They're in the same neighborhood. Why is the Goblin King so far away from his own people? Colony, whatever. Giving my final thoughts on the game. It's alright. It's just the other issues that drag the game down significantly. Gambling, not being able to choose your race, sometimes bullshit enemies, bullshit areas. But I recommend that you at least try the game. Play it till at least the forest. If you don't like it when you get to the forest, that's a good point to decide if you want to keep playing the game or stop playing. Also, I didn't mean the forest, I meant the jungle. Also, the game's kind of on hiatus. Effectively, the game's not going to get updated for now because the devs are working on a different project. But the game could get updated. And if it does, I hope the devs watch this video, or whoever's updating the games watch this video and taking some of these issues into consideration. If not, then that is what it is. Anyways, have a good day, subscribe or something, I don't know.